their tenure is on average 2 years longer than Republicans.
Yeah. So when people talk about the aging Democratic establishment, they're not talking out of their ass.
Yeah.
There is a real problem with aging Democratic leadership.
We witnessed this in real time with Joe Biden. And
during his second run. There was all the air just went out of the room, and it was devastating to see somebody that was that obviously impaired, unwell, incapacitated, basically. He couldn't even speak. What if Donald Trump gets dementia or has dementia, as I happen to...
He starts to become a softie.
And then he just becomes this like bleeding heart liberal.
Welcome to the People Fest podcast. I'm Carrie Prince.
And I am Doug Daniels.
And we are bringing you all the things about connection and disconnection in life, love, leadership. Politics is definitely one of the big ones today because we're talking about aging. We're talking about aging gracefully or
not so gracefully.
Not so gracefully.
Yeah.
In public service and in leadership in particular. Why we stay with leaders far beyond when we should sometimes, and we want them to stay in, and why those leaders actually kind of won't leave sometimes when they need to.
Yeah, when we don't want them to stay in. So what kind of sparked this episode was the news that Nancy Pelosi is retiring.
Yay, which is a good thing. We're excited about this.
Yes.
Fresh blood.
Fresh blood. It got us thinking about, geriatric leadership. Reminiscent of Dianne Feinstein, Mitch McConnell, Joe Biden, and yes, Donald Trump.
Yeah. We might have some surprising opinions for people on this stuff, I think.
Yeah, we're gonna go in that order too, pretty much of those names. So, Carrie, why don't you take us through some of the research that you've been doing?
Let's go over some stats. Let's hit them with the facts.
I love statistics.
You know what I mean? Let's get into some statistics here. So we're going to kind of shit on Democrats for a second, all right? In the last 25 years, twice as many Democrats have died in office than Republicans, twice as many. So of the 602 Democrats who've served in the House since 2001, 74 of them, that's roughly 12%, left at or beyond their life expectancy age. And that's more than twice the rate of House Republicans. This is in the House.
That's the life expectancy age. That's not the retirement age.
That's the life expectancy age.
Their generation was supposed to die at that age.
So Democrats definitely like to stick in office a lot longer too. Their tenure is on average 2 years longer than Republicans.
Yeah. So when people talk about the aging Democratic establishment, they're not talking out of their ass.
Yeah.
There is a real problem with aging Democratic leadership.
Especially with rock star leadership. Like you've talked about this with judges as well. As much as we loved Ruth, right?
Yeah.
She stayed in too long.
Yep.
She actually didn't do what she needed to do to secure her own legacy.
She had like 3 cancer diagnoses. The first one was in Obama's first term, I think. I could be wrong about that, but I remember distinctly that there was a conversation that, like, had she retired under Obama, then, we wouldn't be in the situation we are now.
Yeah.
Kind of. So
Democrats kind of suck at this. Like, they stay in too long. We elect them too many years in a row, and we don't have enough good, challenging young leadership that the Democrats actually support, right? Because it is a pretty big system with a lot of money, and that's another episode, but we all know that that's kind of true.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm curious about with this is, like, does the very nature of public service and being a servant leader also lend itself to a personality type that maybe would stay in too long? You know what I mean?
I absolutely know what you mean, and I have a running theory that at least for the position of president of the United States, you need to be a little bit of a narcissist. Not like, healthy ego, shall we say. Not like a pathological narcissist like Donald Trump, but there needs to be a little bit of hubris for you to think, yeah, I can be president of the United States. And I'm talking about everybody from Obama to Donald Trump. Every single president, in my opinion, has a little bit of hubris inside them, because I think it's just a requisite for the job. Now, I'm sure that, the rates of self-confidence are higher than average in our Congress people, but I would say probably a large number of them would also fall into that category. I think there's just something about the prestige and power of those positions that attracts people who think they deserve that kind of thing. And so when they have it, they don't let go.
And you know what? I mean, I think that unfortunately, Democrats and us as Democratic voting people for most of our votes, right? Like we very much lean very progressive and Democratic. We witnessed this in real time with Joe Biden, and it was actually quite heartbreaking because we knew, Doug and I knew in the first debate performance, and we actually had an experience where we were like, this is bad.
The first debate in 2024.
His second run.
Yeah, during his second run. There was all the air just went out of the room, and it was devastating to see somebody that was that obviously impaired, unwell, incapacitated. Basically, he couldn't even speak.
Yeah, and it wasn't. You could tell that there was still good intention and fire in his heart, I think.
Sure.
But we have to acknowledge what people say on both sides when they say you need to believe your eyes and ears.
Yeah.
I've been saying that a lot lately, too. And that absolutely happened with Biden. And I will tell you that both of us thought that he needed to drop out. And we were so thankful that he did. We wished it would have happened earlier.
Yep. But
what's happened has happened, and we need to do better moving forward, which is why this episode is kind of cool, because we want to do better moving forward.
Yeah.
So we can absolutely readily admit that Joe Biden was starting to lose his edge and was absolutely not fit. I didn't want to vote for him. I didn't want to vote for what the other side was either, but I was so upset that he could not secure a better legacy for himself. I feel like even to this day, him and his family are sort of stuck in this it shoulda, coulda, woulda sort of thing. And we have to start making room for people to take up the helm behind us.
Yeah. And I think in Joe Biden's case, part of the difficulty was that he had this decades-long career, and so everybody was probably tiptoeing around him and didn't really want to get in his face. I think the only person that really did was Barack Obama, who called him and was like, bro, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, there's a lot of suspicion for sure about like people he loved and trusted, like really trying to, again, like too little too late. But that I think that's pretty sad for someone who really devoted his life to public service. And in the end, he kind of biffed it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's the same thing with Dianne Feinstein. When she was on her last legs, my grandmother, who was of the same age group, was similarly deteriorating. The difference was my grandmother was not a senator, a sitting senator.
Yeah.
So that was another one that was really upsetting for me because, these jobs are important. I think we can all agree.
They are servant leadership positions. You are serving a constituency. You're supposed to be doing right by a large group of people.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be there because you like power and you want to stay in power.
Or you think that no one can do it like you because, again, you're getting a little too like, oh, all my years and no one can do it like me.
I mean, maybe like before the Industrial Revolution, when generation after generation basically had the same quality of life with the same technology and the same problems, then maybe, somebody like Dianne Feinstein, she doesn't need to do jumping jacks as long as her mind is sharp, but we don't live in that world. The last year alone with the advances of AI, I don't trust an octogenarian who can barely walk to be able to legislate well for AI and technology and all these other things. So it's scary when we see those leaders declining like that in front of our very eyes. And then, of course, everybody around them is telling us, oh, no, everything's fine. It's like, don't piss on me and tell me it's raining.
Yeah.
Like, we all have eyes and ears. Same thing with Mitch McConnell. My God.
Oh, my God.
He's had a stroke in front of the media.
I know.
Like 2 or 3 times now. It's crazy.
I know. It was so weird watching the stuff happen to Mitch and Joe at the same time. And you're like, you guys, it's the same thing. Oh my God. Can we please like get some fresh blood in? Yeah. And so, you know, unfortunately, I really feel that we're going through that again right now. I think we're watching a sitting president trying his very best to act like he's got the pep he used to, and he just doesn't. My eyes and ears are telling me he doesn't. And actually, Doug's been like looking into a lot of stuff recently on dementia, Alzheimer's, that stuff, because it really feels like the worst kind of gaslighting. And it's the president. It's the most important role. He's in charge of the nukes. This guy needs to be on his game.
Yeah, and it's and you know, all the people that were correctly calling out Joe Biden's obvious cognitive decline.
Yeah.
At least from the right, are now being conspicuously quiet regarding Donald Trump's very obvious decline. Now, I'm not saying that it's the same level as Joe Biden was during that debate. I mean, that was something else.
It's starting to get there for me. I've been telling you, he sounds so tired. I listen to him too. Yeah. I listen to his actual words and speeches every week, and he talks to the media nonstop because he's very obsessed with answering questions and listening to himself speak. And he always sounds so tired, and he's getting really rambly now. So I don't know if you want to start sharing things that you know.
One of the first things that we know about dementia is that it is hereditary. So if family has a history of dementia or Alzheimer's is a form of dementia, you know, your risk is greater. And we know for a fact that Trump's father had dementia, Alzheimer's. I think he was diagnosed in 1991. Trump's nephew says that it runs in his family, not just his Trump's father, but also Trump's sister showed signs of Alzheimer's before she passed, and then Trump's cousin. So, yeah, I mean,
and it is really common. Like,
yeah, it's
all of us know of someone or have had someone in our family that has gone through this.
Yeah, and it's not like there's no shame.
Right.
In it. It's like cancer. Fuck cancer.
Yeah.
Fuck dementia.
Yeah.
It sucks, but you know, it's important if the president of the United States has dementia.
And more so almost than cancer, right? We're talking about something that literally affects your cognitive ability.
Changes your personality.
That word cognitive, I can't wait until we get into that one.
Yeah. Well, cognitive. Yes.
Cognitive.
So the first thing that we want to note is Trump's family has a, you know, documented history. Again, this was 1991. He's not, you know, there was no Trump derangement syndrome back then. So the diagnosis is in his family. The other thing that I think a lot of people have noticed, at least left of center, is that it looks like in the last few months that Trump has potentially suffered, because it's certainly not a guarantee, but it looks like he suffered a stroke.
Something that looks exactly like one.
Exactly. So if you see some of the videos of him, his mouth is starting to droop to one side, which is a very telltale sign. He's got, you know, there was that whole cankle gate.
Yeah.
I think I just coined that term, cankle gate, where he was obviously had some very serious swelling around his ankles.
The bruising on his hand.
The bruising on his hand. And the reason I bring this up is because strokes can lead to dementia. Strokes can cut off blood oxygen supply to the brain. When the brain doesn't have that, it can die. Parts of it can die. And so what I found online is if the damage is significant or occurs repeatedly, it can cause vascular dementia, the second most common form of dementia after Alzheimer's. So Donald Trump is family history of Alzheimer's, but he's also not a very healthy looking guy. Eats a lot of McDonald's. Wouldn't be surprised if an 80-year-old man had a stroke. So yeah, there's just this kind of legitimate, I think, concern that Donald Trump has dementia.
And it's important to note, like, of course we're not diagnosing, but it's impossible not to be curious and look this stuff up and be like, huh. And the only reason why we're doing that is because, again, we're seeing and hearing things with our own eyes that are like, wow, this guy seems rambly and tired and weird. He's starting to lose it. And like, it doesn't make sense what he's starting to say. He's like replacing countries for minutes and minutes at a time. He's trying to talk about South America, and he was talking about South Africa. I mean, things that I think a little mistake we would all forgive, and we have forgiven.
Slip of the tongue.
Yeah, and Biden had a speech impediment for years and years, and we all kind of forgave him, but we knew the difference when he started to slip, and we were like, no, that's not just typical Joe.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
So what's happening now is different, is what I'm saying.
It's definitely different, and it's hard to say what is going on because of the lack of transparency.
Oh yeah, no,
well.
they would never admit anything.
I mean, it would be very easy for him to release an MRI scan or a medical record that would disprove that he has dementia.
Yeah.
But he's not doing that. I don't think he's released anything. What he is doing, though. Before I got to say the fun word that I found out. So another actual symptom of dementia is the fact that the victim of dementia, the patient, does not recognize that they have this disease. It's not like a psychological denial. It's like a physical condition called anosognosia. Anosognosia. We can put that on the screen.
Anosognosia.
Which is, according to the Googles, a condition where a person lacks awareness of their own illness, which is not psychological denial, but a neurological symptom resulting from brain changes, aka dementia, which I think anybody that has experienced a loved one or a hated one, for that matter, with Alzheimer's or dementia, that is a hallmark. They don't really understand that they have this cognitive decline. That's the joke. What's the best thing about Alzheimer's? You get to meet new people all the time.
Yeah. And there's something sad about that, too. I think that's why families go through such heartbreaking things with this. And to be clear, if this is true, like, it's devastating, not just for the country because we're being led by someone who's losing their marbles a little bit, but the whole thing is just sad to watch, because as much as I disagree with every, bit of his pomp and circumstance, it's not fun to watch people mentally decline in front of you. I think that's really sad. Yeah,
there's something about Trump that reminds everyone of their own mortality these days, it seems.
Yeah.
Because I will say, the one thing I always liked about Trump is he was an entertainer. He was a funny, charming kind of guy. Like, during the debates, I had in 2016, when we didn't think he was actually going to win, I tuned into every single Republican debate, and I thoroughly enjoyed the debates.
Yeah. Well, whenever people ask me how I feel about him, I say, well, he's an entertainer. First and foremost, he was and always has been that. He is not a president. He's an entertainer. And to that extent, he's a really good one. He fooled half the country into thinking he could make big kid decisions, and I don't think he's very good at that personally. But he's a really good entertainer. And you know what? There is a portion of the presidency that needs that. And that's what you were saying about sort of ego or something. And coming from, again, a performing arts background, there's something about the president that has to be persuasive. And he is incredibly good at being persuasive. And I think that comes from like learning crooked ways with the people he grew up with in New York. But it also comes from being a really good entertainer. The other weird thing is how much he tries to compare himself to younger people. And I wonder if this leads into what you want to share.
Yeah. So another kind of another incident that came to mind when I was doing this was the one in not that long ago at the end of October, where Donald Trump was on Air Force One, and he was talking to reporters and trying to brag to them and simultaneously insult Jasmine Crockett and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, calling them low IQ individuals, but then bragging about his performance on a test. So we're gonna play this clip here, about 25 seconds.
Yeah, take a look.
They have Jasmine Crockett, a low IQ person. They have AOC's low IQ. If you give her an IQ test, have her pass like the exams that I decided to take when I was at Walter Reed. Those are very hard, they're really aptitude tests, I guess, in a certain way, but they're cognitive tests. Let AOC go against Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
as it turns out, mentioning the tiger, the elephant, the giraffe, Trump kind of gave himself away there, because the general consensus seems to be that what he was talking about was the Montreal Cognitive Assessment Test, which is designed to detect mild cognitive impairment. It's sort of like a first warning sign of dementia.
So it's not an IQ test?
It's not an IQ test.
Oh.
It's not really even an aptitude test. It is a cognitive test. I think he got around to saying that eventually, but he does seem to conflate these cognitive tests with IQ tests.
He thinks it has to do with IQ.
Yeah. Identifying an elephant and a giraffe, that's not, I mean, for 2-year-olds maybe. But yeah, so we'll put up a little picture of the Montreal cognitive assessment, because when you see it, after you hear that clip, it's kind of obvious that that's what he was talking about.
He's just so obsessed with always comparing himself to like much more people that can really use their words in a really effective way. Like, I think AOC is definitely one of those people who's also a very persuasive and effective person, but she definitely like nails the speech, whereas he kind of nails like the vibe, and he has a different way of going about it. And Jasmine too. I mean, both of them are extraordinarily smart. I don't think anybody would deny that. Even if you hated them, I think you'd understand that they're quite smart.
Yeah.
But I love that he's always comparing himself to younger women, and he's always talking about how dumb they are when they're so smart. And then he's like, they're very low IQ individuals, but I did really well on this cognitive test for old people. And you're like, oh my God, Trump, shut up. You sound so dumb.
Yeah, this is just not appropriate for the president of the United States, and I think that's why we deliberately organized this episode to talk about Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, and Joe Biden first, because this is a Democrat problem as well. But as it happens, the Democrats are out of power. And so the most important thing is to be, holding the leadership, the current leadership, accountable. Yeah. And not talk about, remember how stupid Sleepy Joe was? Well, Sleepy Joe isn't around anymore. He's not the president. It's Sleepy Donnie.
And to our credit, yes, it was a little bit later, but as soon as the voters saw with their own eyes, the reason why Joe absolutely had to step down at the last minute is because our party lost faith in him and said, you're right, we admit it. He's losing it. He's not the guy. We can't do this. We said that. We admitted it.
Yeah.
So, oh my God, America, please admit something is really fucking wrong with Donald Trump right now.
Yeah. It's pretty
bad. Please. Okay. I kind of talked a little bit before about leadership and how I think leadership in general, having been someone who, when I've left certain leadership positions, I've felt like I was leaving my team and I was doing them a disservice. I was leaving them behind. What were they going to do without me? Maybe in some really, again, high ego way. And the truth is that kind of means that you haven't done your job. And I think you need to be grooming people to be leadership that can withstand, or at least supporting people in whatever way to take up the helm behind you. And I have a personal story about my grandpa, who I've talked about before, 3-star general in the Air Force. He was a fighter pilot, one of the last living aces in America, really invested in politics to his dying days, lifelong Republican until Trump, and then he wasn't into it. Started to have some cognitive decline towards the end, and he was starting to get scammed by some of the text money scams and stuff, which I think is really common. But actually the personal memory that I have is that he drove his car way too long into his life. In his last years, he was still drinking, and sometimes he would be drinking and driving, and things would happen, and towards the end, you could not talk sense into him, you shouldn't drive. But he had this thing of I'm the pilot, and I'm if I don't do this, I'm considered weak, and he couldn't not do it, and it freaked everyone out. I don't want to drive with him like that. Nobody wants to drive, and nobody wants him to kill someone else on the road. Yeah, it started to become this thing where it's Grandpa, can you please listen to us, that we love you and we believe that you're a great, strong guy with a great legacy, but we don't want you to have killing someone be the last thing you do. And then on the other side is I have an aunt on my dad's side of the family that when we went to visit her, we wanted to go to this special restaurant that was kind of in the mountains a little bit. And she was like, oh, Carrie, would you mind driving me and Uncle Gary, because my eyes aren't good at night and I just don't trust myself. can I tell you the relief we all felt that we were like, thank you so much, Aunt Sherry, for like keeping us all safe.
Yeah.
And I thought of her in that moment, and I was like, wow, good for you. That's like, that to me, that's actually a better sense of leadership as you get older. Like, that's the kind of thing that you should be doing to protect your people, right?
Yeah.
And those two things is like, I had such enormous respect for my grandpa, but I couldn't understand why he wasn't getting it, that he needed to let go.
Yeah, and it's like he would have been the first one to admit that there is a minimum requirement for flying a fighter jet,
Yeah.
which he no longer meets.
Mm-hmm.
Or met, I should say, but why not extend that logic to a car? You know, that's the same. Sure, the bar is much lower for driving a car than it is for flying a fighter jet.
And he lived into his 90s and was super active until kind of the very last year.
Yeah.
And I can see why he thought he had it, you know?
I think there's also that I mean, it's true. They say that, you know, that's their like last connection to independence many times, you know, because it allows them to, if you don't have a car, you can't even go buy your own food. You can't even go out to dinner, really, when you're that age, right? It's not like he can, you know, walk a couple miles in his 90s.
But, he only died a couple years ago. He could have Ubered.
Well, that brings us to the other topic about old leadership and what I was saying earlier about the change, the rapid changes that our society is going under. And I really liked how you said that is part of leadership too, is knowing when to step down. Yeah. Right? Like as parents, good parents know when to step back and let their children fly the nest, so to speak. Yeah. And that's a leadership position, if you will, right? Going from childhood into adulthood, your parents are the stewards of that, hopefully, good stewards. But, you know, we kind of know in all these other areas of our life that, you know, there is this time for you to step back and say, okay, my work here is done. And for some reason, these positions of power, it's really difficult for people to say, okay, my work here is done. Like, who knows what was going on through Dianne Feinstein's mind, you know, when she was like being wheeled around the Capitol because she was so weak and frail, she couldn't even walk. I'm not saying there should be a physical test for obvious reasons, but I would want our leaders to be physically fit enough that they could walk a mile, say, or you know, some sort of like
equivalent to
stamina test. Do you know what I mean? Like, we have these minimum age requirements with good reason. It seems to me that we should have maximum age limits.
And
not just term limits.
And I don't think that is saying anything except for like, it's time.
Yeah.
Just like everything, like there's an age when people kind of should and want to retire. It's not that they have to stop doing good things. All these people could retire and continue to do good things, including campaigning for younger people and teaching them the way and showing them the way. The fractures that we have with the Mamdani stuff is so stupid. He obviously has captured the hearts of people and is doing what Trump did, which is trying to speak to what their needs are. That is why he is so popular. And even people kind of doing a little bit of like a fuck you in the same way that Trump voters were saying that, because they're like, nobody's listening and this guy seems to be listening, so fuck you, we're voting for him. Yeah. The same kind of thing is happening there, to be fair. I think that there's a similar sort of like stubborn mentality of Americans that does that. But here's the other thing is like, the average age of the person in Congress is 20 years older than the average age, than the average American age. 20 years older. So we're talking about all these people in Congress that are 2 generations sort of up, trying to fight for, you know, an entire sort of age group of people. But really, how can you not be slightly biased towards the needs of the older part of that generation if that's the majority of the people in there? Imagine it on a smaller scale, right? You have a company that's full of all workers that are in their 20s and 30s, and every single person in leadership is 40s and 50s. So everyone in their 20s and 30s is thinking, I can't pay the bills, I can't buy a house, we have a baby on the way or whatever. And then everyone in their 40s and 50s is like thinking about retirement.
Oh, how's my Roth IRA doing?
Yeah, and it's not that there's no crossover there, but we see it time and time again that there's this inability to respect and really understand what's happening in the youngest generations that are in the voting sort of realm. So like Gen Z and millennials. Yeah. what's happening with technological changes right now, we know for a fact most of Congress doesn't even quite understand it. They don't use it. They didn't grow up with it. And actually, there's an additional problem, which is that young people running for Congress are the first generation of people that have their whole adult lives on the internet.
Yeah.
They have a huge disadvantage. So all of these older folks that stay in, they don't have some video from their younger years coming up with a weird tattoo like Graham Plattner in Maine, right? They get to talk about how they've grown as people, but it's not on display for all of us to see. And actually, when what's-his-fuck got in and like raped someone in college, all he had to do was say, I didn't do it, and everyone believed him, right?
The
there was
Supreme
no video.
Court Justice, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Horrible, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't TikTok and all that stuff just like flooding around the internet. Just like Charlie Kirk's death was like in front of everybody's eyes instantly and is burned in everybody's retina forever. Not me, because I didn't watch it, thank goodness. But these people in their 20s and 30s, like I have photos of me from college. Luckily, none of them are damning. But I've thought, like, if I ever wanted to run for something, what is out there?
What is out there?
What is out there? And what's out there that I don't even know how bad it is?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a scary thought, because we need the next generation of leaders. It's time for millennials to start, getting elected to Congress, and Gen Z should also have a few faces in there as well. The whole idea behind Congress is that it's supposed to be a representative of the American people. And maybe for another episode, we can talk about the professions that Congress people are. They're just lawyers, all of them. You know what I mean? Which is fine. Obviously, a legislature should have some lawyers in there that know how to write laws. But that's another thing that bothers me about Congress is that it's not just their age that they're not representative of the people, but their background, their the way that they think and see the world. Lawyers are great, can be great, I should say.
Yeah.
But like we need farmers in Congress.
Yeah.
We need electricians in Congress. We need nurses and doctors and teachers and stay-at-home moms. I mean, anything.
Yeah.
I mean, we just need the whole slice of American society should be represented in Congress, not just
totally
demented old people being represented.
And I do think some of that fire is happening. Like we mentioned on the last episode that there's a sixth generation farmer up in Arkansas. She's going up against Tom Cotton. The guy that actually got booted out of Montana was a farmer for many years. He was awesome.
He's missing a couple fingers, right?
Yeah, badass.
That's pretty cool.
But he was ousted by just a horrible smear campaign. He didn't have enough money to go up against opposition, so he's like just super cool, hardworking dude that's like I don't know, so people are being pushed out by
Money.
Profitable sort of things that are trying to protect their interests. And until we actually get someone in that's serious about campaign finance reform, I don't know what's going to happen there.
Yeah. Well, I'm hopeful that I can't imagine Trump enduring for the rest of his term just because of how quickly he seems to have declined in the last year or two. And so I'm hopeful that if he does really decline further in office, that maybe that will be the catalyst that we need to start making some laws about this stuff,
Yeah. It must also be really weird and not help something like cognitive decline if everybody around you is telling you one thing and then the actual truth is different. So the last set of elections that we had last week went pretty well for Democrats, and there actually was a lot of press in the Republican side about how well it went for Democrats, and that could be a bit of a wake-up call, and it could be kind of jarring when everyone's telling you, you're winning, you're great, everybody loves you, your policies are the best, nothing's wrong, everything's fine, you're gonna live forever, like whatever everyone's telling him is like, obviously other things are starting to happen because the bubble is way too protected around him, and that would only make you feel more freaked out.
Yeah, and it would make you more anasagnasic.
Good try there. The one of the things we have to be careful of here too is if we have a leader that's becoming more authoritarian and believes that he can use these powers, and everyone around him is starting to freak out because they see him losing his grip a little bit, but they want the empire to continue, blah, blah, blah. They start to use more authoritarian tactics to quell the voice of the people. So what we're scared about is upcoming elections for sure, with someone who is potentially going a little bonkers, or at least just slowing down. Like, it's just very obvious he's slowing down and getting tired.
Well, you know how like dementia can like change your personality, so like a really nice person can turn into like a mean old curmudgeon.
Yeah.
What if Donald Trump gets dementia or has dementia, as I happen to,
he starts to become a softie,
and then he just becomes this like bleeding heart liberal after all of the powers that he's been trying to accrue have been given to him. And he spends his like last 2 years like doling out welfare and lowering taxes for the middle class, pushing through universal health care. And then I woke up. Yeah.
Gosh.
That
but
would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we had just in the month of October, as another thing that I'm sure freaks him out. You know, he's talking about the economy and how great everything is, and then we just had like the most job losses that we've had in decades in October, because all these corporations are cutting tens of thousands of jobs due to AI and profit, seeking sort of behaviors.
Hey,
and nobody's putting them in check.
How do you expect Elon Musk to make $1 trillion? Ugh. Pay package got approved.
Yeah, I mean, the wealth disparity thing is a little scary because imagine that all the people that are at the top that are wealthiest are also supporting people that are starting to seem like they're not all there. I mean, we start to get into like a little bit of a like, what land are we living in?
What if one of them, I mean, what I don't understand either is like these guys clearly want wealth and power. What if Jeff Bezos just said, you know what, fuck you, Trump, come get me. I'm untouchable. I'm going to be your resistance. I'm going to stand up to all your economic bullying, and I got resources of my own. You know what I mean? Like, there's such an opportunity for one of these guys to just like step up and be a hero, but they're all just being lick spittles instead, and it just doesn't make any sense, especially anybody can see that Donald Trump is not his former self. Like, whether or not he has dementia, set that aside. He's just not well. And everybody can see that.
Anybody that is running large, profitable corporations, though, their interests are not about saying F you to Trump, right? Their interests are about running large, profitable corporations. And right now, they get the least resistance with Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. But
right now.
Yeah, totally. But, there's more to life than money, especially when your society is collapsing around you. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
But Bezos' wedding, like, he doesn't care that. His life is fine. Why does he care? He doesn't worry about stuff like we do.
No, he's an immoral abomination is what he is.
Yeah. And I do think that there are plenty of like really great people standing up and doing good things now and saying good things now. And there's a lot of resistance happening in all sorts of ways. And, all these small elections that flipped the other way, that is such a good start to making sure that we have more checks in place. So for the CTA of the day, I'm including a little link for an organization called Leaders We Deserve, and it's not necessarily something I'm promoting hard, but I do want to highlight there are places like Emily's List or Leaders We Deserve or the Vote Save America people where they are currently asking normal people and younger people run for something. And actually run for something, I think .com is also another one. They're saying, if you love your community and you're scared for your community, run for something and get the support you need. So you could go to Leaders We Deserve and kind of check that out as a little bit of a blueprint.
Cool.
You could go to Vote Save America. You could go to Run for Something. I don't think Emily's List is super. When we checked it out last time, I wasn't seeing how like active it was. I don't know if there was something that happened with that, but I would absolutely like be so excited to hear that somebody I knew was running for local office if I believed in them, and they would absolutely have my vote. It's the same when someone like messages me on Facebook and they're like, I have this new short film. Will you give it a like? I'm like, yes, of course I will. I love you. And that's the power of sort of like local community. And I love what you said earlier about like we need more normal people running. And so this does the other thing that I love, which is it gets you out of thinking about us versus them in terms of who our government is.
Yeah.
Our government is us.
Yeah.
Our government is us, and we have to vote for each other and vote for the people that we believe in, and we absolutely are doing that and have the opportunity to do that.
Government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
Thank you, Sir Douglas. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of People Fuss. Please like and subscribe and share this episode. One of the best things that you can do is share this with a friend and get them to subscribe and listen to us every week. So, you know what?
Totally. Twice a week.
Twice a week, yeah.
Re-listen.
You can go on Facebook, Instagram, and, follow us there. Give us a few little shout outs. We do really like engaging with comments. I know that we say that every time, but it's true. This gentleman here likes it a lot more than me.
Yeah.
And just remember that this is a tight-knit production produced by yours truly, Carrie Prince.
And Doug Daniels.
And our theme song is Human Colors by Delicate Beats. The cat fact of the day is that Kiko, she has an obsession with bags. So if we're packing for a trip, you might leave the room and you might come back.
There she is.
And her little eyes are like poking out of the suitcase. She loves what we pack for trips. And I say that because the last 2 days I've been babysitting for a friend and their dog. So actually I've been in Dogland. I know, cat facts during Dogland days. But it's so funny because packing or unpacking, Kiko will always get her butt in that bag.
Yep. And we'll show a little picture for you right here.
For sure. All right. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.